Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mortgage Heroes Weekly Podcast. I'm Andy.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Will.
And you guys, it is election time. We've been waiting for this week for a long time, so here we go.
Who are you going for? Who are you going for? Who am I going for?
Oh, man, this has gotten contentious.
Blink twice if
right
you're
away.
going for the right candidate. Blink twice if you're going for the left.
Oh, my gosh. It has been a storm. Yeah, we need to talk about the things that are some related to, and there's going to be a lot of things that are going to get hashed out, discussed, and I'll say battled out over the next days, weeks, and possibly months. I don't see any way around that. Yeah. So we're going to kind of have to talk about some of these things, of course, full well not knowing exactly what the results of Tuesday will be, or even if they will be Tuesday. So let's go, I think, from the beginning, which is actually about the presidential election, and then we'll kind of figure out how to navigate our way through the rest of it. Does that sound good?
No, that sounds great. I tell you what, guys, I'm just ready for change.
Yeah, 100%.
I'm ready. I'm just like, let's go. Let's get this thing done. I wish I could fast forward and know what it is and who's going to be or what's going to be.
Well, that's a great segue to the very first thing we're going to talk about, which is what impact will the presidential election have on the Fed's path for interest rates? Now, Brian submitted this article. It's from Investopedia. The top points here are, which no matter which candidate wins, it could affect how the Federal Reserve views interest rates over the coming years. And the main point at the top here, and we'll dig into this, main point was if Republican candidate Donald Trump wins, growth could be faster, pushing up inflation. In that situation, the Fed would likely keep rates higher, especially if aggressive tariffs are enacted. And then a win by Democratic candidate Kamala Harris, who hasn't proposed the kinds of aggressive tax cuts or deregulation that Trump has, could lead to slower growth, potentially allowing the Fed to continue cutting rates. Do you guys see it that cut and dry and that clean, or are there nuances here that we need to consider?
I think there's a bit of nuances. I mean, in reality, yeah, but I think it doesn't go as far as how they're framing it, where it's going to be a negative connotation based on how I read it. I think it just depends if you're able to prove that, hey, if we're going to do aggressive tariffs, how is that going to help us out? And if it's a good thing for the U.S. economy. But at the same time, on Kamala, slower economic growth, United States it's a huge business. We're a huge corporation, and I feel that that's the type of the type of way we should carry our country. And I feel that either way, something's going to change, but I just don't feel the way that they frame it is just completely right.
Okay, what's your take?
Yeah, no, my take is get whoever's going to go in there and is going to make it happen, right? Because you can hear all these things are going to happen, but who knows, Andy? It really don't know. And then we got to remember also, the president doesn't directly impact that. The only way he's going to impact it is, if he gets appoint Federal Reserve members there. And then that's who really is going to dictate where we're going to go. The public has a saying. The economic policies that are established, that's going to say a lot where we're going to go and what direction. So I don't understand how that's, with the decrease of income taxes and all that stuff. I don't know.
So I think there becomes some complexity when it comes to those kinds of things because policy ends up going downstream and affects things that the Fed's trying to regulate and control, right? So I think the commonality here, at least in this example that's provided by Investopedia, is that the claim is that there will be the continued growth under either person. I think the way that growth looks is going to be very different, though, because it's arguing certain sets of levers over here versus certain sets of levers over here. And then the thing for the Fed, though, has broadly been employment / unemployment, price control, and then also inflation, hoping that those things will help inflation get better.
Correct. And that's what they're saying Trump is actually not going to help right there.
Well,
that's what they're saying is now that, with that, interest rates will remain high. And we got to remember, the way we pay our deficit back is through taxes.
Well, and it may or may not help. And that's the thing where I think that it requires conversation because it's one thing for it to be written this way, and then it's another thing for it to materially work its way through the system. So the policies itself or themselves, whichever policies there are going to have to be worked with. It's like adding another ingredient into a cake or a recipe. Well, if you add one ingredient in, you take another ingredient out, it's going to taste different. And so if you take another thing out and put another thing in, so regardless of the candidate, when you start making changes to those things, the recipe changes. It's
just going to be, an unbalance here and something else is going to get unbalanced. And so again, our federal government's teeter-totting with the balancing act of what direction they need to go into. And I think this is just going to
I want to say one thing. First of all, the amount of debt that we have in the 35 trillion, or whatever, that's already a problem. Okay, now that's
Huge.
not that's not going to get solved overnight. So either candidate's going to have that to contend with. And they may or may not care about contending with that, okay? I am going to say something that I have been kind of watching, though, is what energy has been doing. If you look at oil prices recently, they've been going down. That is disinflationary over time as it courses through the parts of the economy that rely on gas and diesel in order to bring products to the market and all that. So I think that there's a way that inflation could be positively impacted long-term if energy can stay low. Yeah. That can only happen with deregulation. And that's one of the things I think that on the Trump side, they're saying that could help because then it eventually gets into all those things that are negatively affected in the pricing because of fuel.
And that's where I feel that people misconstrue what they say on public media, that it's like, no, it's bad, this is going to be bad. But in between the madness, we already seen him, enact some of these policies. He already put them in place when he was the president before. Therefore, I know that, some of these things will work and maybe others won't work as well as we want them to. But I know that based on the research I did, the presidency doesn't necessarily control the housing market, the economy, or any of the markets, right? But they create environments in which those markets could get used to, what the policy is being made out to be, whether it's going to let them, have more deregulation or they're going to be more tightly scrutinized. But I just feel that the way that, like Will said, the way we pay back is through debt. So in that madness of saying, hey, we're going to raise tariffs, we're going to raise or cut taxes, in the long term, it is going to help because it's going to make its way through the economy. It's going to take a little bit of time and it's not going to happen one day to another. But we know that these things eventually will lead to the longer, main goal that we want is to bring things down.
My point in bringing this up to you guys is that the energy could achieve the inflationary goals that the Fed has without them having to keep their rate elevated for longer. So the whole problem we're seeing now in the bond side of the markets is that ever since they dropped their rate in September, now the bond market's gone crazy and rates have gone back up.
They've gone back up.
So all of the anticipation of them dropping the rate brought the yields down leading up to that decision. And then ever since that decision, it's like skyrocketed. I know we're going to get there later, but my point in this is that could potentially help them achieve their goal, and they don't need to then leave the interest rate elevated, and that could then ease other parts of the economy. Now, I will also say that on the other side of the fence, there can be some potential policies that will help with employment, but it's mostly because of creating new government jobs. So if you can create more new jobs and get more money in the hands of people, you could say then that will help long-term with our consumer spending and other parts like that. Yeah. But that could then put some pressure on whether or not inflation continues to come down or not, because now there's money in people's hands.
And the interest rates,
Right.
I mean, and we've been seeing this consecutively in October. I wanted to make sure that I went in there and I asked, like, hey, what were rates in October of 2022? And they were at 6.9.
22 or 23?
22.
22.
Oh, wow. 23, that was when they were at 7.7.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
7.79. And right now, we're already at 6.4. So I don't know what it is about October, but October hasn't been fun. October stinks. You know what I mean? It's
horrible.
And I mean, that's just to tell you how much influence. I mean, I don't understand. Yeah, you can get one president going in there, the taxes and all that. Remember, how the United States makes their income is through taxes.
That's it.
And so in 2023, we collected around and I got this here, 4.4 trillion, right? And our deficit on what we pay back is more than 20%. We had to pay thus far in 2024.
Interest payment that they made.
And thus far, we've paid 1.05 trillion in gross interest.
Insane.
Interest. That's and
right?
no principal.
Insane.
So it's just crazy to see these numbers, and yet our deficit's $35 trillion. That's a whole lot of money.
Yeah, and then not to get like nefarious, but I mean, what is there even an intention to pay that back over time? And then how do you do that?
Well, that's how they do it. That's why they had a decrease, right? Right now, the Fed is borrowing the money now at a lesser price. So don't be surprised. They say that by 2026, we should see the rates in the threes. Don't be surprised if that does happen, because that's how they borrow the money in order to pay back all this deficit.
Yeah,
right?
Because if they,
I mean, and this is at right now 1%.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So imagine now they're borrowing at 4%. It's advantageous for them to reduce the Fed funds rate.
Yeah, their payments are going to go lower, and it's going to help.
That's correct. That's how they're able to. They're going to create a catastrophe so that they're able to freaking pay some of this back.
They need to turn the money printer on again.
That's
somehow,
correct.
some
Figure
way,
out.
stimulate what's going to happen. What's going to be the big how do I say, black swan event
Yeah, but I mean, I like all the ideas. What everybody's approaching, Kamala putting that $25,000, home buyer credit. They're trying to figure something out. Let's see what's going to work.
Yeah, we talked about this last week when you were here, Brian. But it's like everything up until it actually happens is just one giant pitch session, and some will happen, some won't happen, and then you got okay. Well, now we're dealt this hand. Now what's that mean?
And then campaigning is a lot different than actually being in office, making actually those decisions. And you can campaign all you want, say everything that you want to say, and like, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Day one, you get in, then you really start saying, okay, well, I can't do that. It's going to take a little bit more to do that. So I think that whatever the coin falls, I think it's going to be very interesting.
So what's interesting about you making that point, though, is that now coming into this brand new term, either candidate has now already spent time in the White House. So you have, I know people go, the vice president doesn't live in the White House. Okay,
no, but that's
in the administration,
true, right?
So you have
so true.
4 years from 16 to 20,
and
then 4 years from 20 to 24. Now, whoever comes in at 2025 has already spent 4 years of the last 8 doing the thing.
Yeah.
So that is going to be, I think,
it's a great point, Andy.
potentially helpful. I just don't know. I just don't know because it's going to come down to motive.
Yeah, because we already know what Trump's done. We already had him in there.
Yeah,
and we already know what Kamala is more or less going to do since she's been there already the last 4 years.
Well.
Yeah.
And
which is pretty crazy.
The thing to me is that, like, and I don't want to get too political, but if she says, I'm the vice president, like, I can't do much, but it's the same thing as, like, hey, if I don't like something, hey, Will, like, maybe we shouldn't do it that way. And she still has some sort of influence. Yeah. I mean, I'm not leading the company, but at the same time, we all have a voice, like, hey, you're making that decision, but maybe we shouldn't do that. So I'm like, you can't really hide behind the fact that there's no influence that she has in the decisions being made.
I think what this one is going to come down to is mostly economic advisor.
Oh,
who's going to be the economic advisor? Not just the person standing at the podium saying the thing, but who's actually going to be mechanically giving the input and advice on what should be done and how and why, and then which people benefit from that. Because I know also here's what happens is candidates, again, either side, they make promises, and then sometimes they find out, oh, shoot, I actually can't fulfill that promise because of some functional reason.
Yeah.
And then you've led your voter base to think you're going to get this thing, and then you don't. And then now you can't do it, and then now the economy or the Fed or whoever, now then that has to sort out the truth of that too.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely excited to see who's going to take presidency. Are we going to have our first female? It's pretty crazy to think that.
According to the betting markets.
And it sounds like that may be, the case, but we'll see.
This one is going to be, look, I have this note locked and loaded for later too, but regardless of what the outcome is, half the people in our country are going to be mad.
Yeah, of course. It's always like that,
It seems more like that now than it has been in 2020 and even
that'll be pretty crazy because Mexico has their first female president. Now, are we going to do ours? Like,
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows?
I don't know. We probably need to drop this one and go on, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do it.
One of us starts getting mad.
No, just beating a dead horse. So
here's the thing with all of that. We're gonna either way, whoever gets in there, we have to adjust.
So we're kind of like the Fed. Whatever, whoever goes in presidency, we're going to have to adjust to whatever the way that they're running the country. So at the end of the day, whoever gets in there, we're going to figure it out.
And then we're just here to support that, right? Like you have no choice. Well,
we're going to have to deal with it anyways.
You don't have choice. You do have a choice, but I've always been, it's like, I just got to conform to it and I'll support whatever I can.
Here's the thing. We have a choice. We can vote. Okay. So if you vote, you may not get the outcome you want. But even if you don't get the outcome you want, you still have to show up and do your work.
That's correct.
We still have to work in the system of the banking industry and all that. So we're still dealt the hand we're dealt and have to figure that out in order to keep the business up and then help veterans and active duty members get their houses. So
in the last 8 years, we've had 2 different presidencies. We've gone through both of them. We're still here. We're still moving forward.
Exactly.
I mean, life goes on, guys. It's not.
It does. It does.
So next up, guys, this is the number of homes for sale is now the highest since 2019, including in pandemic boom towns from Realtor.com. I picked this one because it has 2019 in the title. Pre-pandemic. This is screwed up and skewed so many charts and graphs and data because it's like all this stuff almost deserves an asterisk at the bottom of the page. See the footnote and for explanation. So much of what we measure has been skewed and distorted because of the dent of 2020.
Yeah, of course.
This is now giving reference to something before 2020, which now we can go, okay, hold on. Maybe there's some semblance of clarity here. And then we can make some assumptions and some projections based on that.
Yeah.
So number of homes for sale is the highest since 2019. Total number of homes in October for sale in October is 29.2% higher than 2023, marking the 12th consecutive month of growth. People are getting that itch to sell, guys. What do you think?
It is. I mean, interest rates did also go down. That actually encourages sellers to say, okay, I'm closer now to that 2 or 3% that I've had before. So now they're encouraged because now their payment is more in the affordable side. But right now, if you notice, people have been pumping the brakes on that. Why? Because the interest rates are higher now. And so therefore, now I'm not that close again to where I used to be at. And we've seen buyers also just kind of being on the fence. Mm-hmm. They're just like, I'm going to pause right now.
Yeah, it's buyers become sellers immediately.
That's correct.
And so there's that part always at play.
Yeah.
The decrease in mortgage rates mid-August could lead to the assumption was that the decrease in mortgage rates could lead to increase in listings. We're seeing the lagging effect of that now. Yes. So it happened. So there's some residual effect of that already. You're seeing more listings on the market. I think you're also seeing people ready themselves for whatever the outcome of the election looks like. We've been talking about how for 2 months, maybe even longer, people have been waiting and waiting and waiting. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. We've even heard it a couple times too. I want to see what happens first before I make my choice.
Yeah.
And now I think people are starting to see what they may want. Yeah. And they're like, all right, I'm ready to list. Let's go.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And it was July towards literally September 16th when the Fed announced that they were cutting rates, that, we saw rates come down and then all of a sudden they went right back up. And it does prompt a lot of people to say, well, hey, like 1% does make a big difference,
because it does.
It does. And now we see people like, here we go again. I thought we were back. I thought the market was picking up. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight is that I feel that, people in the industry see things beforehand. Like we knew July was, rates are coming down into August, September. But then now the public doesn't get it until the Fed says, hey, rates dropped. By that time, rates were already on the way back up. So a lot of this, like Andy said, is lagging information that people are now like, hey, it's time to put my house on the market. But I'm like, it was about 3 months ago.
Yeah, I think more of this is to come. Notably here, San Diego is listed. So in all 4 segments of the country, north, south, east, and west, every single region is up for listings. And metros that saw the largest increases in the number of homes for sale include San Diego at number 1. So San Diego, which we talk about as a tight market with lack of inventory, is up 63.5%. That is insane. That is a lot. And again, I know we talk about like it was in the gutter last year. So 60% might be kind of skewed as well.
But still, that's significant.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a whole lot. Here's the craziest part about it, guys, is we haven't seen, even with the amount of supply of homes that we've been getting, we haven't seen a decrease in price.
That's right.
We have seen, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, we have seen price declines, but that doesn't mean anything. That's not like, oh, dang, we're going on a freaking housing crash, right now. No, it's just people, thinking they're going to sell their home for a lot more than what it's really worth. Remember, the buyer's going to determine what your house is worth.
Yeah, and we talked. I think you and I talked about that last week, where you can overlist your house, and then it actually gets right sized when your appraisal comes in. Like if you're going to get a loan, that's going to be the case, unless you're coming in with cash extra to make up the difference. Yeah. But there's a lot of that. There's a lot less of that happening now because mortgage rates are higher. People are a little more hesitant to do that. They're holding on the cash and all those kinds of like other psychological behavioral things. But it is interesting, and I'm glad you made the point that home prices have broadly stabilized in San Diego, despite the fact that we have a 63.5% increase of listings.
I don't see that. Honestly, I don't see that we've had that much. But
year over year. So since October of last year till October of this year.
Yeah. I don't think it's been that much, but okay. I mean, let's just go with what it says right there. I'm okay with that. I still, and here's what everybody was. A lot of the financial economists were saying 2020, October of 2024, we're going to see a huge recession. Yeah. We're going to see a housing crash.
Yeah,
look where we're at. It's not happening.
The other thing I want to make sure I mention too, and again, this is a very mechanical statement, but think about some of the neighborhoods we have here. The homes are ready now in 2024, and they weren't in 2023. So some of the developments that we have up and down like Olympic and down south in the Millennium Project, like they were still breaking dirt in 2023. And so now they're onboarding, let's say, a couple hundreds of homes just in those neighborhoods that they actually weren't even in the count last year.
Like when we went over to the Olympian a few weekends ago, I haven't been back there and I don't know how long. And I saw all the houses to the right when it used to be like no green. It used to be just straight freaking like hills and hills. Now it's a goddamn community everywhere.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
communities
yo,
everywhere.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I know it's a very functional statement, but there is some of that too, where packed into that number is these new inventory that just didn't
makes sense.
actually exist. This is not like just
Yeah.
pending inventory.
One thing we have been seeing, Andy,
Or
with
current
this, because of the amount of supply that has increased year over year, is we've seen a lot of withdrawals. People canceling their escrow, getting into another one because there's a better opportunity, or the home fits their needs best. And so a lot of times people come with the misconception like, I have to get into this one because of the past experiences. But now that there's more inventory, they're being more wise, and let me put that offer in. If it doesn't work out, I still want to keep my search open.
That's a great point.
Just in case, right? So we've been seeing a lot of withdrawals in that sense, that people are just like, nope, hey, if the seller's not giving me those concessions or they're not giving me those repairs, I'd rather go look at this one that requires less in repairs, or maybe they'll give me more in concessions and I'll try it out. And I think I see myself there better. So we've been seeing quite a bit of that.
That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't think about that, but you had mentioned that last week too. Yeah. Well, I mean, similarly.
Yeah.
To add to that, I feel that when rates were a little bit lower and prices were still a little bit higher, it still gives enough room for the buyer to negotiate the payment, the credits, because of the rate being a little bit lower, that higher price. They'll say, hey, I'll eat $100 more. It's okay because I get my house. But then when the rate starts going up, the room for negotiation, your payment is very high. You're seeing it from the beginning. You're like, I don't know if I want to negotiate or go a little bit further when rates are this high, but they drop a little bit and they're right there.
It's crazy. I think a lot of people are just conforming to the new way of doing these things, which is pretty wild. In the beginning, when we see these payments, it was like, dang, 4,000, 4,500, 5,000, 6,000. Like, it seems like more and more people are looking at, okay, I want to stay under $6,000.
It's like the sticker shock is gone.
And you're kind of like, what? Yeah.
It's crazy, right? The sticker shock is gone. I mean, yesterday I was telling you, I came in, I was like, I got an advertisement for like a Jeep, and I was like, it was $48,000. Like, wait, what? I just haven't looked at Jeep prices, of course. Obviously, that's why I'm like in shock about it. But that same sticker shock translated to houses, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, anything under $6,000, I'm good with. Like, what?
And
$6,000?
And it's crazy that you say that, because over time people do conform, and then it's like just like anything. If I really want it, I don't care how much it's gonna take. I'll save up, but I'm gonna get what I want. And it comes to the point where it's like, well, if this is a playing field, then I'm just gonna have to play, have to figure out a way.
Real quickly, I want to make sure I talk to you guys about the median home price, but also, more importantly, in my opinion, is the median price per square foot that has continued to rise. So let me explain really quickly. Median home price staying steady at $424,000. I'm just rounding for ease of conversation. So $424,000. Again, that's super high relative to most of the country. Now, the median price per square foot has risen by 50.5%. And I think this is the untold story. I think it's the buried headline. I'm going to go back to something we talked about last week, the rise of condominium development and townhome development. One of the things that was being brought up is the total amount of square footage for units has decreased because they're cutting out patios and long garages and whatever. But the price per square foot is up. And I think that is the buried headline, because that does not change unless labor costs go down, material costs go down, municipality fees for permits and all that go down. So the median home price is going to be a reflection of that. But inside that is this average price per square foot. That's, I think, the number we need to keep our eye on. And it is almost here at the end of this article. It actually is kind of ahead of all these things, driving all these outcomes and results that we're seeing when it comes to price. And if developers are going to continue staying small and just building more volume of units, but they're smaller in total size, well, then they have to keep that price per square foot up in order to have the margin to justify doing it. So I think that is what I want to keep my eye on going into the end of 24 and starting 2025.
Like making micro communities.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it is.
Right.
That's what it is. I mean, we talked about this a couple of times ago where, Amazon is building a home. It's like a 3 or 4 bedroom home, and it's going for $30,000. It's a home in a box. And then you're getting competitors like Home Depot and Walmart. They're doing it for $14,900, and it's like a 19 by 20, right? Which is a 1 bedroom and everything. It's set up. All you need is a forklift to come, bring it to your house and you set it up in minutes.
That's 1800
You know,
to
like,
2000. It's
I can't
monthly
wait.
rent.
I can't wait if you go to Amazon, buy something at Amazon Prime, and hit deliver, and then like your microwave dings, ding, it's in your microwave, and it just comes out. Amazon.
But what I was hearing that this was something that Sears back in the day used to do this.
You could
My mother-in-law
order. You
was
could
telling
order
me
it in the
that.
Sears catalog. Yes, in the print catalog.
Back in the day, that's
What's Sears? Nah, just kidding.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god!
Just totally kidding. Just totally kidding.
Yeah, but it's so true.
So no, tell the story.
communities.
Who was telling you that?
But yeah, no, that's what they were telling me. My mother-in-law was just telling me, Katie's, that back in the day, her parents remembered like you can order these homes on Sears, and you just bring them, set them up in your backyard, and there it goes. Rent it out for whatever you can, and it's done.
Had like the supplies list, and it had the instructions. Like I remember seeing pictures of this on the internet. I'm actually going to put it in the show right
It's
here.
like full circle, right? Full circle. Even pants now. You remember it used to be all skinny jeans.
Oh, yeah.
Now the baggies are coming back.
Yeah.
With bell bottoms.
Hey, when
this
we were
about?
in middle school, remember you made fun of us? Why you guys wear pants so freaking tight?
Yeah,
Christian,
so tight.
me, everybody was looking like we're freaking.
It's like these guys get into their pants with the shoehorn, to fit
Oh
in
my
there.
god! He doesn't even know what a shoehorn is. I
know.
Yeah.
The pants horn.
Yeah, now they're back to baggy. Even with styles, everything just comes back eventually.
Jeez. Okay. Well,
Hopefully, rates come back to a lower range as well.
Yeah.
what do you guys think the over/under on my hair coming back is? 0. Okay.
Super under.
Next article then. Next article.
Which
buying,
I like. Yeah, I do like this.
Yeah, please.
Buying a home
That'd be
is
weird.
a way to increase your net worth over time. Top rank advisor says CNBC. That's all I'm going to say. Go for it. You're excited about it. I'm going to let you go.
No, it's just so true. Buying a home will it help you increase your net worth? It's a fact. There's things that you can do. There's things that you can control when you own a home. You can build. Like what are some of the ways that you could actually build equity in a home?
I mean, right off the bat, you can force square footage, add additions, make repairs, rent out your rooms, house hack. I mean, there's so many different ways.
Right.
You could, use your house for a business, in-house living, assisted living. I mean, there's so many ways to
So
skin the
many
cat.
ways.
Accelerate your loan paid offs.
Oh,
You're
yeah. I mean, see, there you
making more
go.
payments
Make
on
more
your loan.
payment.
That increases your equity too.
Exactly. So this is one of the statistics that I went in there just to find out, and it says Federal Reserve survey of consumer finance. According to a recent survey, homeowners in the U.S. had a median net worth of approximately $255,000, while renters had a median net worth of only about $6,300. Mm-hmm. That nearly represents 40 times greater wealth for homeowners.
Yep.
I believe that.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that if people make, the sacrifice of turning their garage into a 1-bedroom, like here in San Diego, which is a 20 by 20, you could fit a 1-bedroom with 1 bath, a kitchen and everything. You could easily rent that in some areas here anywhere from $1,500 to $2,800, depending on where area you're in. And these are very cozy places, So it's forced equity. Another way that people can do it is they can actually pay down principal. Some people say like, well, I want a 15-year payment, but they don't realize that if they have a 30 and they just put $400 or $500 into it, they're going to reduce their loan amount drastically and save money on the interest, and pay off that house faster than a 15-year.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if we talk about that enough.
We don't.
Well, maybe we do because it's extremely nerdy, but in our loan calculator, it actually will show you what your effective interest rate is if you happen to pay off your loan early. Because if you're making accelerated payments and you pay it off early, your total amount of interest paid is actually a lot less than your initial 30-year amortized calculation. So when that happens, it changes your net effective rate paid.
Yeah.
So if let's say your note says 6, you could have paid your loan off earlier. It might even be 4.75 or 5 or whatever in the end if you do that.
Yeah.
I want to make sure I make it super clear because I think you made a great point here. The net function of equity is paying down your loan balance. So that actually helps increase equity.
Yeah.
And home prices holding or even increasing over time. And Brian, your point, adding square footage or increasing the value or even modernizing your home, things like that.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways to do that when you are in home ownership. One thing I know that was cautioned in this article was, let's say you buy $1 million home. You don't have $1 million asset if you owe $900,000 on it. You have $100,000 of equity, and your personal asset is $100,000, not $1 million. It can say $1 million, and you got paid off. Sure, go walk that $1 million check to the bank. If not, just make sure you're being honest with yourself and your budget that you have $100,000 asset in your back pocket when you sell that place.
Yeah. So one of the biggest questions we always get, would you buy a home right now?
Yes.
If you could afford it, you buy it, right? Because it's all about this. And I like that the article states here, homeowners can start to see their equity and net worth increase within 5 to 10 years. My rule of thumb has always been in California, your home almost doubles every 10 years.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of people, even like in the stock market, they're talking about, timing of the market. No. It's time in the market. You know, same works with real estate. It's longevity. Mm-hmm. You know, and that these homes are built 30 years. I know it almost seems endlessly like fix a home, do this, that, but that's where you have to keep your home. So it's not just in 30 years, it lasts 30 years. It can last longer than that. And that's what I like the beauty of, real estate. You can go and buy a building, for instance, where we're at, and 100 years later, if you take care of it, it's still here.
Yeah.
And it's still generating income for you.
Yeah.
Where other things won't. Like a vehicle, it won't run. It's not going to make you money later. Where in real estate, and that's why I'm a huge fan of it, because we can see it here. My mother-in-law's house was built 1960 something. We're doing 2 ADUs on that thing.
Yeah.
Perfect example. It's going to continue to make a profit for us.
100%.
I'm going to tell you guys something I learned since last week's show. I went camping out east of us, and I told you don't know this, I told him, I'm like looking for land out there. I want to get a lot and something out there because there's like acres for sale. So I went to this place, and I spent 48 hours there in this very peaceful, serene, you can't hear traffic, road noise, nothing place, okay? I found out that this guy owns 123 acres east of us, like 7 miles east of us. Guess how much he bought it for?
$50,000.
Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you. Sorry, I missed a piece of information. 123 acres. He bought it in May of 2022.
Oh, May of 2022.
Okay, so May of 2022. So just about 2.5 years ago. How much do you think he paid?
$600,000?
No, 10 million?
$500,000.
How?
$500,000.
Is it flat or is it mountain?
Is it? Yeah,
It's mountain range with flat. It's both. So this had a house on it, and it went up for sale from the family. It was a probate sale, but it was had an existing structure, 2 other structures that had previously burned down during the wildfires, like 2007.
Yeah.
And the stone houses were still there. Now, no one's living in the stone house because other parts had burned down. But my point is, it already had existing structures that can be rebuilt, and it has 123 acres. And part of what this guy did is he built all these like camping little flats where people can come and tent camp or truck or SUV camp overnight or for the weekend or for the week. And he has all this open area in his own private spot that's done really nice for $500,000.
You trying to buy Pio Pico?
Nice.
No, it's past that.
That's crazy.
My point in bringing that up, though, is you're saying that people can buy something and hold on to it for a long time. Yeah. That's the play. The person who owned this before that, I want to say owned it for 40-something years prior to him. And he's like, I'm going to die here. He told me to my face, he's like, I'm not going anywhere. I've lived all throughout San Diego. He was a contractor. He's like, I found this place. I bought it.
That's
and
crazy.
I'm going to rebuild it, and I'm going to stay here forever.
What was that deal?
He's like, I'm in my late 40s. He goes, I'm going to die here. I'm like, okay.
Good for him.
So, long story to your point, though, is there's land out here that you can secure and hold forever, and you can build up and gain
again,
equity
it's
over
your
time.
appetite, right? It's like an appetite for whoever wants it. Like me, I'm okay without that.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want that. I want this. I want to hear people. I want to hear cars. I want to see all that stuff. I'm allergic to horses.
Hey, you said
sorry.
You said
Allergic
camping.
to horses.
You said camping was like,
No, thank you.
Oh, they can't,
no, thank you.
Get this guy an
But I
EpiPen.
think,
was there a motorhome?
I think that's great.
Dirt?
But I think that's great, right? Like what a way to leverage your property.
It's 'cause
and
he's doing
that's
it.
what's important, that you
He's
learn
doing
how to
it.
live. It's like I could tell people like, oh, my payment's going to be like $5,500. I tell them, convert that garage into and rent it for $2. They're like, no, but I need that storage. All right. Then storage is more important.
Pay post paga.
There you go. Exactly.
I believe $2,000 a month in storage. I wouldn't pay $2,000 a month in storage.
that also brings up just like the diversity of what you can do in real estate. Like he has a ranch. You could do rentals. You could have a business. There's so many different ways. It doesn't just need to be, hey, I buy the house, I put renters in there, and that's it. There's so many different ways for you to be able to diversify.
Yeah.
Home equity, Airbnbs, so it's, there's a definitely a route for
Especially
you.
if you're buying houses now that can be a 1-bedroom, 2 bedrooms for $15,000, Home Depot or Walmart. Imagine them putting those in place right
and
there.
then rent those out to be a little like
and create a
staycation.
little community in there. Like there's endless ways of how to figure that out when you have land.
A final point that I forgot to mention. So I mentioned when he bought it and how much he bought it for. What do you think it's worth now?
Oh wow.
No. Once it's done like that, it's
1.2?
got to be like, no, way more than that. It's got to be way more. It's 123.
The land alone is like $750 plus improvements, which is all the structures and all that. So it's going to be way beyond that when he's all said and done.
It's gotta be.
But yeah, $500,000 pickup.
Especially when you do that, and now you got a business and you have that business license, you can run these things, right? Now you're showing an investor what your cap rate is, and therefore that brings it more value. You know, whereas the previous owner didn't have any of that, so therefore
it's like your real estate plus
you're
your
not
business.
worth, right? It's not worth much. But now you can show somebody, look, this is what I generate as far as income. So when they see the cap rate, right, and you're selling it for $3 million, your cap rate's still 10%, you're buying that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's when you're doing that, increasing that force value into your property.
Well, guys, home prices are still apparently overpriced, unaffordable, as the Fed cut sparks mortgage rate melt up. And I picked this one from Zero Hedge because I think we need to talk about what might be ahead for us. The 10-year yield chart that is on the screen right now, this is from Zero Hedge, and it is the 10-year yield. And it shows the Fed rate cut of 50 basis points back in September, and it shows where we're at currently today, and it's projecting what is up ahead economically.
Yeah.
I think it is front-running what they think is going to happen and what is going to need to be in place for the headwinds ahead. The headwinds ahead? Can you say that? Is that too many?
Headwinds ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. What was that? What was that scene from The Office when he's like, how the turntables have...
Turntables turn.
Yeah, some Michael Scott thing. Okay, the claim here is that the market seems to be screaming a policy error pretty loudly. Agree, disagree? Was the Fed rate cut an error, or is this just another function of the market happening because of uncertainty, because of election stuff, because of global politics, because of whatever?
No,
like, what do you
this
think?
was done purposely.
I believe everybody was waiting for
I'm
a
just asking the
25
question.
Yeah, no, this was done purposely.
Everybody was wanting a 25 basis points, but then when they did the 50, I think it sent out alarms like, yo, what's really going on here? Because I thought it was 25, but now you're going aggressive at 50. What's really under the hood?
Again, there's more to it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
There's way more to it. We talked about earlier, what is our deficit? How much do we pay in interest on an annual basis alone to borrow money? So that 50 basis point, it's something that helps relieve. It's like when the rate's lower, our government, just like we do a home, we're able to refinance. So we're able to refinance our debt.
Yeah.
So we have to reduce this. On the next one, we reduce it. Next one, hey, we're just going to refinance lower. And now that that we talked about, the 1.05 trillion that we paid in just debt service this year, that should go down. It'll go down. And now we are able to print more, right, and still pay the same amount.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that we can start making progress on it with the interest payment alone being across $1 trillion. It makes it hard to make headway, right?
Yeah, because it's 20%. When we're making 4 to 5, we said that it was $4.4 trillion that our federal government made in 2023.
Brings in revenue,
right?
Yeah.
But if we're paying $1 trillion, then
of interest.
How are we going to get it out of this?
Yeah.
It's going to be virtually impossible.
Paying the minimum.
So this was absolutely done, and it's going to continue to go down. Like I said, I think the Fed later down the line, they're going to create some type of catastrophe so that the rate can continue to go down, and now we can pay off this deficit much sooner.
They have to justify why it is. They have to cut it really sharp and really fast. So I'm excited.
What do you think, Andy?
I think, I'm going to state something that's here that I totally agree with. I know you guys are seeing firsthand, which is the whipsaw is really messing with homebuyers' confidence. This is messing with people because the front runners who saw it in the summer and everyone saw, Fed's going to cut. When August happened and rates went down, people took action massively.
Yeah.
We went from, having rates that are elevated and sustained to, oh my gosh, rates are going down and they're going down quickly. Yeah. And a lot of people rushed. And now you have the lagging effect of people who didn't take action, and now they're stuck back where they were before August. Yeah. So now you have end of October, beginning of November of 2024, and some people are in exactly the same spot they were in freaking June, 6 months prior, because they didn't do anything in August. Yeah.
And
you can't tell I'm irritated by it.
No, but I'm right there with you because it's like, don't get too greedy and you trying to have the lowest of the lowest when you know how things have been, these last couple of years with volatility, up and down, and you've been hearing it everywhere. And I just feel that if you waited that time and now you're trying to get in, now you're months behind, because it's like, how are you going to catch up when you should have taken action when you were waiting for that one sign to come, and it came and you're like, I'm going to wait more. And then,
Yeah, because now I don't know when that bus is going to come back around again.
No.
I can't sit here and tell you, in December it's going to come back, or January, it's February. I don't know what's going to come around. Yeah. It may not be till March, which is your favorite talking point about when rates start to cool down, or I should say ease up, and people start thawing out from the winter slumber. Is usually March, which is now 5 months away.
Start to increase it again. You know, you start going up again.
Right. So my irritation is because I really dislike it when home buyer confidence starts getting pummeled, because I do want to see people own homes. I want people to have a place that they can call their own, whether it's because they want to just kick their feet up at the end of the day, sit on the porch drinking tea, or they want to share it out with a bunch of their friends and have joint expense sharing to make some money or whatever.
You know, if you can if you could afford it, get in it. It's going to get harder. It's not going to get easier. I'm telling you. I could already tell, like, I have a 19, a 20-year-old. I'm like, I could already expect they're going to be living with us for a while. You know, those are the simple realities with these rates and everything that's going on, these home prices. It's going to be a while, you know?
And in general, in history, when have prices come down or gotten cheaper?
Yeah.
The collapse of 08 and 9.
Besides those, catastrophes that we can't control and nothing could do.
Yeah.
It's only gone up.
Yeah.
Everything's only gone up.
Yeah.
Everything. And
it always will be.
Yeah.
It'll always be. It's supply and demand.
And that's why I feel that if you were able to produce more, it kind of matches up with whatever you're, paying more. So it's like you can make things cheaper, but then that breaks other things by trying to, force how do I say, like, bringing down the rates. That also breaks something somewhere else where inflation goes up. So I feel that if you produce more, there's more money in the economy. There's more companies, paying their employees a lot more, then they're able to withhold higher prices, higher costs of living. But until then,
crazy times.
I wanted to point some out to you guys. If you look at the bottom of the chart on the page that Memo's at right there, Brian. You're on it too. Sorry. So if you look at the bottom of that chart, if you look at where we're at today on the very far right, if you draw a straight line to your left, and you look at the point in time when we were at that same rate, it almost makes a perfect V. The chart makes almost a perfect V, and it's almost the same exact equidistant time as well. So the time to get from where we were at, so the rate we're at now at the 10-year to where the Fed made their cut, from where the Fed made their cut to now is almost the exact same number of weeks. So we saw a direct inverse reaction to the Fed rate cut in the weeks following it that we had seen the opposite leading to it.
So the V's for victory.
The V is for something. I don't know.
Volatility.
The V is
Volatility.
for
That's a good one.
punishment. V for punishment.
Yeah.
So
please stop.
they went right back in the direction at the same rate and speed that they came from. Okay, so
that is crazy.
Another couple things here really quick. I do think that this could potentially put a damper on listings, which we had just talked about earlier in the show. The listings are this as high as they were, or the best they have been since 2019. Now, that could probably damper leading into the new year. So we're going to have to come back and go, in the rearview mirror, it looked like quarter four ended up having this net negative impact. That's yet to be seen, but I am expecting it, honestly.
But it's true. November, December, that's the cooling off period.
Yeah.
Real estate. People are wanting to, like, that's it. I'm done. Holidays are coming. I want to decorate my home. I want to spend and create, memories here, etc. So,
well, and I think
that's the cool down.
And it's dual function. You have that happening. Plus, you have most of the country that is literally cooling down, where there's just not a lot of sales. And then you have now this kind of force function of the market rate causing that as well when it comes to behavior and appetite and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Brian, any thoughts? It's okay if there aren't any.
No.
All right. People are changing their budgets big time. Lastly, on the very last page, another Fed rate cut in the face of this strength will only worsen the situation. Here's my question. Do you think it would, or do you think it could temper the market heading into a very contentious new leadership at the White House?
So it's funny how you mentioned inverse last time. I wrote right here, another cut would increase rates, ? I'm hoping for an inverse effect.
Yeah.
So, hopefully, since they went up higher this time, once they cut, it'll come down lower.
So I wrote a note here as my final point to you guys on this article and the show in general is something I already mentioned, but I'm going to say it again, is no matter how the chips may fall, I think half the country's about to be super upset. The question is, which half will it be?
Yeah.
And with that, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap it up. Memo, what was the favorite part of the show
Mine
for you
again,
today?
is the third article, the net worth. I love
Yeah,
it.
home
I'm
equity,
glad
net
that
worth,
they continue to put things out there, put that in so that people can listen to that, people can read it, they can, internalize it, memorize it, whatever they want to do. But I think that's great that we keep, encouraging people that you need to buy. If you're ready, you could afford now, get in there, start building your net worth. It's never too late. I don't care how old are you, how young you are, whatever it is, just get in there and get it done.
Okay.
I'm telling you, longevity, you're going to be happy, especially when you're young and it's just you and maybe the fiance. Next thing you know, you have kids, you have a place to call home.
Yep.
It's a great thing. And then you just pass that on, to your children, etc. So that was my favorite.
Now, I second that as well. I think there's so much you can do in real estate if you control it correctly, and there's so many different things that you can get out of it. It doesn't just need to be one-sided, and I think the faster you get in it, the more success you're going to have. So, pull the trigger, don't hesitate, and it's only going to get more expensive the more you wait.
Yeah.
Great statement, because I'm going with number 2. Number of houses for sales now the highest since 2019 because of what you just said. If you can get in, get in. If there's more supply right now than there was even a couple months ago, try to get in. If you have not been shoved out because of the rate environment, then keep yourself in the game. Go run a play and get yourself an escrow somewhere.
Go run a play.
Especially because of the number I saw here in San Diego, 63.5, whatever percent it was, more listings now than it was a year ago. I think right now, this is the time to go. We typically, oddly enough, we see a very busy December around here, even if it's not busy around the rest of real estate. For whatever reason, December is always busy for us. So I'm kind of expecting that for this year as well, even though we have the rate situation. I think the inventory is actually going to drive a lot of activity.
All right.
Okay, cool. Well, with that, yes, thank you guys for a great show. All you watching, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell so you catch every episode as soon as it gets released. Like this video and forward it or any segment of it to someone you know and love in real estate so you can help them win in mortgage and real estate. Thank you guys for a great week. I am very excited about whatever next week's show is going to bring as we have some clarity on what the heck this whole election outcome is going to be. So you guys will join me next week again for this, yeah?
Of course.
Okay.
All right. Let's go vote, guys.
Yeah, let's go vote.
Thank
And
you
let
all.
us know,
Let's go.
what topics you guys want to hear more of.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be great.
Drop your note below. What do we need to bring more about in the rest of the Q4? And we'll come back to what we're going to do in 2025.
Even
we'll
if you have
that
situations that you're going through, examples that you want to run through, that you want us to discuss, or just break down and give you examples and our point of views, please send them in. That's what we're here for. We're a huge resource, and we want to just continue to give back to the community, continue to help people, and more than anything, just help fulfill dreams.
That's it.
Awesome.
Love it.
Thank you guys. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next week.
See ya.